Hello, we are going to rewrite the MCU. Whilst I'm making this video, by the way, I am sick, but I refuse to put off making this video any longer because I procrastinate every single fucking video idea that I have for some moronic reason. So we're just gonna get through it, with my voice weird, and if I like break up this video, it's because I'm like having a coughing fit. So, yeah. I've never written fan fiction, but I will be writing fan fiction now. Basically, this counts as fan fiction, but it's gonna be in script form. That's the fun thing, right? Basically, the way that I'm gonna be rewriting it is I'm going to pretend, and you're going to pretend that now I have control of the MCU. I'm what's his name, right? And I am in charge of production and directing and cinematography and costumes and writing the script, okay? I'm in charge of everything, and I'm in charge now of the MCU. And I am going to write the second act of the MCU. What do I mean by the second act? I want you to imagine that the first act was from Iron Man to Endgame. Now the second act is from the end of Endgame to wherever, to like the ending of the second act, okay? Now, the reason that I'm not just rewriting Multiverse of Madness and I'm rewriting the entirety of the second act of the MCU is because when I was rewriting Multiverse of Madness, I took a step back and I was like, Jesus Christ, there's actually a lot of work to be done for the entire thing. And it seems like every single movie that's been coming out recently from Marvel has been so directionless. In fact, this entire act is directionless. They don't know where they're going. And I think that's their biggest flaw is that they kind of just started making movies with no idea what to do. They chose, first of all, a very weak big bad, right? In the first act, they had Thanos, and then in the second act, they decided to have Kang. You could be like, it's not a weak big bad because, you know, he's dangerous or whatever. Okay. Well, they defeated him in the first season of Loki. And then they defeated him again in Ant-Man Quantumania. So like if they were going to stick with him, what was the plan? Were they just going to keep defeating him until they ended up on a like a battlefield with like thousands of Kangs? That's boring, it's repetitive, and there's no stakes to that. So, several things that I'm going to do to change this is that I'm going to kill the MCU to make this better, right? And what I mean by that is that if I was in charge of the MCU, if I was in charge of Marvel, I would be focusing on tying up the cinematic universe. So then, once we're done with that, we can focus on independent projects, TV shows that you can actually spend time on that have more than 8 episodes per season, and movies that are not interconnected with other movies because I think that they're really trying to cling on to the first act and the nostalgia of or like the how cool it was that all of the movies were interconnected with each other when really like I don't know, you can't do that unless you're actually writing well, okay? My big bad is going to be Nightmare. And when I'm talking throughout this video, I want everybody to like know I'm not going to be revealing too much about all of the projects that I'm writing or have decided to write because I don't want there to be spoilers, right? Because what's going to happen is when I rewrite these projects, I'm going to make a video for each one of the projects that I rewrite and I'm going to put it out there with a storyboard and me explaining to you what happens in the story. And it's kind of like you're going to be watching a Marvel movie, right? Except really low budget, like extremely, extremely low budget, okay? So, but still, I don't want you to have like spoilers. So treat this like, you know, in Comic Con when they go and like sit in this whatever and they listen to the guy, and the guy is like, here's the timeline of the MCU, and then they give you like a vague idea of what's coming out of the projects that they're doing. That's what I'm doing now. Okay? This is the MCU timeline that I have written now. It might make sense. It might. We ignore the dates because we ignore the dates. Except we might not. So I've just given myself like a vague month to deliver on these projects. And this is like a 2-year project. which is super fun, but whatever. Like it's a practice for me writing because I like to write anyways. So basically, to explain this to you, I've kicked out most of the TV shows except for WandaVision and Loki because that is the rule is that I need to use WandaVision and Loki to kind of jump off the MCU, second act of the MCU. So, first thing that I'm rewriting is Loki season 1, only season 1, not season 2. I think season 2 did a good job. Then we're going to have a Black Widow movie, which is when she was an actual Black Widow. We're going to have ballerina spy vibes, okay? What I was actually expecting, a darker tone. We're going to have the introduction of Yelena and Hawkeye and how they fit into the larger story because they are important for the rest of the Act 2. Then we're gonna have a Miss Marvel movie, Kamala Khan, because I think that it's really lazy and also it shows that they have no confidence in new characters when they're just throwing them off into like TV shows as if they're side characters. It's really insulting to these characters that should be taken more seriously and could have had really cool debuts. Instead, they were thrown into a TV show that people did not care about, right? I think that Miss Marvel's movie could be fucking gorgeous. And also, I have this thing about movies always being set in America. I'm going to attempt, uh, like, to the best of my ability, to make a lot of these movies outside of America because America, I don't know, pissing me off. Thor 4 definitely needs a rewrite. There are so many issues with that. But obviously, when I'm making the videos and making the movies, I will have sections where I tell you what I found wrong with it, if it was an existing movie, and what I decided to change, etc. Um, then we're having Doctor Strange 2, which is not Multiverse of Madness, it's just Doctor Strange 2. And then we have Captain America, where he actually has his own fucking introduction movie instead of a TV show, right? And it will be like Winter Soldier and Falcon, but it'll be in a movie form. Because again, like it's just insulting to have these really important characters thrown into a TV show when you didn't give Iron Man a TV show. You didn't give the first Captain America a TV show, right? So Sam is going to get his own proper movie. Then we have Multiverse of Madness, which is the bane of my existence and the thing that began this entire thing. Then we have the first Avengers, right? With our first big threat. Um, then we have a movie about Jericho Drum. If you don't know who that is, you can search him up. I love him very, very much. He is the love of my life. I introduced him in Multiverse of Madness in my rewrite, and I kind of like fell in love with him, and I was like, I want more. And so, because I'm in charge of this project,
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
you get more. I'm just gonna call him Dr. Drum as well because I thought I saw that people were not like so happy with his comic book superhero name, which is all cool. So we're just gonna go with Dr. Drum because that's super fucking cool. Anyways, then we have a Yelena Hawkeye movie, untitled right now. Like some of these are untitled. I hope you know. But Yelena Hawkeye, where it's gonna be like the TV show, kind of, because again, it's insulting that this character who we followed for so long and had a very strong connection to one of our beloved characters was thrown into the fucking side in a TV show. And then they introduced another character who I assume would be important into this TV show. It's bad management. Anyways, next, Captain Marvel 2. Captain Marvel 2 is not the Marvels. Captain Marvel 2 will be following Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel and their issues, their familial issues. Because they tried to hash that out in the Marvels, and I found that really weird because Kamala Khan was kind of just like in the middle of it. Fucking, like, why? Ugh, I actually am sick and I hate being sick. Anyways, okay, let's move on. Moon Knight, I may or may not do. Yeah, warning. I did just put in a Moon Knight movie because I personally want to see more Moon Knight. Like, if I were to do the MCU, I would want to see more Moon Knight. But, this is the one thing that I'm not entirely sure of at this point in time, and we will see what happens. Then we have Ironheart. Um because again, I think that these characters deserve their own introduction. Then we have an America Chavez movie, again untitled currently. She was in introduced in Multiverse of Madness. Um, and again, I think that she was done dirty. A lot of these characters were just done so fucking dirty. I think she's a really cool character. She has the potential to have a really cool backstory instead of just a bee sting, which I did change in Multiverse of Madness. I gave her a little bit of trauma because I like giving characters trauma. She's gonna have her own movie, her own adventure, because I think she deserves that, or just because I like her. Then we have a Captain America 2, and that's going to kind of be like Brave New World, except it's going to be a lot better, hopefully, and it's not going to include a Zionist as the main character. Then we have Avengers Part 2. Then we're going to have Blade. I have yet to see when they're coming out with a new Blade. So how this is going to work is if they came out with Blade and it ended up being a good movie and I think that it's a good movie and I can just do like small things to be like, yeah, this is how it fits in, then I'm not going to rewrite it and I'm just going to move it into here, right? That's how this is going to work. Then we have the Thunderbolts, and the same goes for the Thunderbolts. Is if I think that the Thunderbolts was like a really good movie and it can somehow fit into my version of the MCU, I'm not going to rewrite it. I'm just going to move it away. The Marvels is in a rewrite, and non rewrite section because, um, again, it's kind of like a I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. Um, Whether or not I can be bothered to actually rewrite the Marvels, but more so, I need to see how I've ended up writing all of these others in order to see if like if I've strayed too much from the original Marvel's um plot. So yeah, whatever. We'll see. Then we have a Black Knight movie. Um Now I really like the idea of the character of Black Knight in medieval times. That's my cat walking by. Goodbye. I really like the idea of Black Knight, but I really like him in the medieval times and with like King Arthur and things. Um, and I kind of teased him in Multiverse of Madness, and I know that they want to bring him up as like a modern guy, but because we're dealing with the multiverse, um, I kind of just want to keep him in the medieval times because I think that we could have a really cool Green Knight kind of movie surrounding him. And so that's what I'm doing. And everybody, like I said, I'm allowed to do what I want to do with this project. It's my project. You guys are just along for the ride. Then we have Spider-Man. And remember how I said that I'm killing the MCU, like I'm tying it off? The Spider-Man is not going to be very prominent throughout these movies. And the reason, there's a very important reason, is because I'm starting him again. He's been in hiding. He's trying to sort out his life, okay? And I want to go back to square one with Spider-Man, where he's not dealing with aliens, he's not dealing with magic, he's just dealing with issues in his neighborhood, right? I really want to go back to his roots because if I were to be like shutting off the MCU, killing the MCU, um, I'd want a proper goodbye to the Spider-Man who is in this MCU. And that would look like him going back to his roots and being just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Then we have a wizard team up again, unnamed, but who that is involving is Doctor Strange, Wanda, Jericho Drum, and America Chavez, because they all like beginning Multiverse of Madness. Then we have Captain America 3 because I think that Sam deserves a trilogy. If Steve Rogers had a trilogy, Sam deserves a trilogy. Um, Eternals 3, I actually really like the Eternals movie. I just think that it should have been split into two. So like the first one should have been their background up until they all split up, and then the second one should have been the main plot of the Eternals. But I don't think that that's Chloe Zhao's uh problem. Like that wasn't her fault. It was most definitely the MCU's management fault. They probably just gave her one movie to work with because obviously it doesn't even look like they're trying to make another one. But anyways, so we will see what happens. And then Avengers Nightmare. Why am I doing um Nightmare as a main big bad villain is because I think one of the other issues that the MCU has is that they are not reading the room. As in, it's almost like they keep forgetting the massive amounts of trauma that all of their already existing characters and characters that they're introducing have gone through because of Infinity War and Endgame, right? To snap half of the universe away and then snap them back is extremely traumatizing. Doctor Strange is one of those characters that is actually directly responsible for half of the universe deleting and then coming back. He is the reason for that. I think that there's going to be a lot of animosity towards him. And it's almost like they forgot that he's a doctor, right? He's a doctor. His entire thing is to save lives, and he did not save lives. In that instance, he did not save lives. He actually took them away. That's traumatizing for him. That's just an example, okay? There's a lot of characters who are going through a lot of things. Like Sam was also deleted out of existence, right? And imagine being deleted, coming back, everything you know is different. Your family has grown older, right? The government has changed the way that things work. And on top of this, it's like they've forgotten that governments would be reacting to this. So, in my version of the MCU, the world governments have decided that basically this is the this is the fault of the superheroes. And Thanos never would have come to Earth or done any of this if superheroes hadn't existed in the first place, or people with powers hadn't existed in the first place, right? So now there is a ban on superpowers, and there is a ban on superheroes that are not directly linked to the government, which is going to bring in so much great conflict when it comes to Sam and the government, being Captain America, you know, the face of America. And it's going to bring so much conflict when it comes to Wanda, who is already in so much trouble, has been in trouble, like legally with the government, because of her actions. And then imagine, like, you have the governments are unhappy with people who have powers that they cannot regulate, that they cannot control. You have wizards who technically are their own self-governing countries, self-governing governments, who have their own powers and are connected to the TVA, which is something else that I'm going to be doing is the TVA and the wizards, they are connected like this. Because I don't think that it's possible for you to have such a powerful like group like the TVA and then another powerful group like the wizards without having them interact in some way. By making the TVA have like be working, I hope this is making sense because I actually don't even know if I'm speaking English anymore. By having the TVA work with the wizards, right, with like the sorcerer supremes and stuff, by telling them you need to keep it on one line, it completely works out, okay? It works basically in canon with what we have so far because that wouldn't make sense completely why Doctor Strange decided to give away the time stone. Yeah, there were thousands, hundreds of thousands of ways of defeating Thanos. We all know it. There were hundreds of thousands, millions of different ways that they could have defeated Thanos. But there was only one way that could have ensured that the sacred timeline stayed the sacred timeline. Imagine the absolute dismay to find out that actually you didn't need to keep the sacred timeline because now the multiverse exists and things seem okay. That means that your actions in keeping the sacred timeline, ended lives. You killed Tony Stark, right? Okay, cool. And so that is why Nightmare is the big bad, because I really want to be able to leech off of all of their traumas and all of their issues. Um, and it feels like a finality, right? All of these characters need to overcome something in order to get to the other side, in order to finish their story. All of the characters that we have traumatized need to deal with that, and then we can say goodbye to them. So, I think that that works like that pretty well. Um, a lot of these movies will be having a darker tone. I I have not written action before. I've written two screenplays just to keep to myself for one day. Um, but both of them are drama slash character driven stories. So it's going to be really interesting to see how I can do with action movies or superhero movies because I've never done that before. And yeah, so like keep in mind, whilst we're gonna go on this journey together, there's only one of me. The way that I'm going to be showing you these videos is I'm going to be storyboarding the scripts that I do write. I might not end up writing the entire script. We will see what happens. But if what I do write will be available for you guys to read, um, in the videos, I will explain to you costumes, um, the story, everything, the plot, what I think was originally wrong, why I decided to make certain choices, and then you can basically watch it like a kind of movie, really low budget movie. And hopefully we can all have fun. So, I will see you in April when we have Loki season 1. Cool.